All right, friends, this is a very, very special episode that I am so excited to share with you, my dear friend, Lizzie Langston.
Oh my gosh, you just called me a
Yes,
friend.
Lizzie and I feel like we're really good friends that we've only ever met through Zoom and Instagram.
And Instagram. Yeah, but I do feel like we've become friends. And I'm also your client, and I'm also a fellow coach, and I'm also a mom of three, like all sorts of things.
Yeah, Lizzie's awesome. I always call people like my Instagram buddy, but it feels like we're sisters.
Yes,
So Lizzie and I met on
seriously.
Instagram a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so tell us, like, just give us a little background of who you are and like our journey meeting and all those beautiful things.
Yes. Yes. So, hi, I'm Lizzie Langston. I am a mama of three. I have a boy and a girl and a boy, 7 and under. And you know what? I had the kids kind of back to back to back. Got caught up in some depressiveness and anxiety, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you that's what it was. I just knew I was not feeling myself. And long story short, through trying lots of things like, antidepressants through the OB's office or a natural delivery with midwives, which I actually really enjoy. I mean, there was pain for sure, but it was
Yeah.
like a really neat experience, all to try to avoid this depressiveness and anxiety the next time because I had it after my second and then my third. Tried therapy. I found coaching, and that's kind of my story. And then as far as homeschooling, so I'm a postpartum coach. I don't think I mentioned that. But as far as homeschooling, let's see, my oldest is 7.5. And before he started kindergarten, I was already thinking of homeschooling and had found Meg on Instagram and loved her handle, the hippie mama. I was like, yes, we're right up the alley. And I definitely felt called to the hippiness, and homeschooling was on my horizon. Like it was on my radar, but I thought, let's try kindergarten and see how he does. And honestly, it was a combination of a few things that made me decide to pull him out in December 2019 is when I actually pulled him out, which was great timing right before the pandemic because I got to get all my stuff before
Yeah.
everybody needed
Before it
it.
was sold out.
Yes, but compassion to those who had to go through that sellout phase. That was probably
Yeah.
annoying. But it was a combination of being guided through the spirit, but I never felt like forced or like, no, I just have to do this. It was just like little nudges. And so then I would talk to Meg. I think I did a couple, just chats with you, and I would follow people on Instagram. I grabbed, a book that was geared towards homeschooling, and I started to just research a little bit and decided to just pull him out. I also noticed my kid is he's high energy, and I just felt like maybe he was destined to be labeled by with labels that he doesn't deserve, as he grows into his gifts, and
Mhm.
maybe isn't an amazingly perfect sit still desk student. I didn't want that to be held against him like I thought it might be. And I actually really love teachers, for the record. My mom was an elementary school teacher, and so this was not like a personal thing, but I mean like against the school system, but
Right.
more. Although the more research I've done, the more solid I do feel being called to homeschool, and the more proud I am and happy I am that I made this choice. But it really is unique and individual. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have Lizzie on for a few reasons. Well, one, because she's fantastic and she's awesome.
Thank you.
Two, the one other big reason is so I'm starting my 14th year of homeschooling.
That is
Isn't
insane.
that fun? Like I
And
have three
slightly, I mean,
graduates.
if I didn't know all your fun spunkiness, I might be intimidated by that.
Yeah.
Anybody who is intimidated, because Meg, you're beautiful and you've got it
Thank you.
together. You homeschool your kids. I just want to you got to say, like, because I'm her client. I've been her client twice. I just have coached with her in 2 different seasons. And she really is down to earth. Like, just wanted to put that out there for anybody who might think that she's something special. Like, she is special, but so are
Right.
you. So are we all. And one thing I love about Meg is there are times where I can kind of see that she could take me forward, but I'm not ready. And I just tell her, and we stop and we deal with my insecurities as a homeschool mom, or we deal with drama, or we deal with worries about what family thinks, or whatever else comes up. So she really is like, yes, she's so capable. She can tell you so much, but she will take you where you are for sure. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just had to say that because I
Well,
think I
thank you.
felt intimidated here and there.
I'm sure. And I remember even like different people I would meet and I would think I could never be like this mom. And then I'd
Yeah.
get to know her and like, oh, she's human.
Yeah.
Like she still
Yeah.
has
Like
her stuff.
it's like those of us that kind of watch people like Meg from the shadows and like we love it and we're drawn to it, but we're like, we're not enough to be like them kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's
That
a
that
lie.
was me with homeschooling. And but I couldn't deny that internal calling. So where there's a will, there's a way, and Meg meets you halfway. And that kind of rhymed. So we're cool.
That's adorable. But I like that where Lizzie is. So she's about 18 months into homeschool. And so,
2019, 2020. Yeah.
yeah, so some things are a little bit more fresh.
Oh, just a few.
Yeah, a lot of things are more fresh. So
We're
as we
not,
were,
I'm not here to hide anything,
yeah,
y'all. Like, you're not going to get a pretty packaged testimonial. I'm messy, but
we
it's
all
working.
are.
It's working.
But
We're
it's
doing
it's what I love about it is because like as we coach and Lizzie will ask me a question and I'll be like, well, I don't do that. And then I'll think, oh, but I did.
Yeah.
And so kind of remembering Meg a year in, remembering
Mhm.
Meg 6 months in, like just all those different phases. And
Yeah.
so I kind of wanted Lizzie to share her experience of this last 18 months of kind of the emotional journey,
Yeah.
kind of where you are now and kind of your hopes for the future with homeschool.
Oh, wow. Love it. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Okay. So I identify as a beginner homeschool mom. So for those who might be more intermediate, it's whatever. But
Yeah.
I know I would have loved to have somebody like me talk through it because I wanted to see the messy because that's where I felt like I was going to be if I started. And that's why I think I was the most nervous to start. With my depressiveness and anxiety that popped up postpartum, it was like I shouldn't say ugly. I'm really trying not to judge my past self. That's
Yeah.
something I'm working on. But there were days and time periods where I didn't show up the way that I do today, the way that I wanted to. And I'm still working on those things. But the reason I tell you that is because when I started homeschooling, I had this big fat fear that if me, because like, okay, I have to go back a little bit. When I was a full-time when I was a full-time stay-at-home mom having babies, that's when my depressiveness hit. So I kind of associated staying at home or like being with my kids a lot and depression, which is such a bummer. So then for a while I was like entrepreneur, kick butt, awesome, still am, but now I'm kind of easing back into homeschooling and the motherhood scene more fully. I hope this is making sense, but
Yeah.
basically when I started homeschooling, I had this big fear that like my depression would come back and I would be mean to my kids because that's all, sadly, very sad. Like I feel sad for my sweet baby self because that's all I'd ever really known when I was full-time stay-at-home mom. But that's one of the reasons I hired Meg. I was like, okay, number one, I'm a student of coaching. I've done some work on my mind and my mindset and my body and processing emotions. And then number two, just in case, I'm going to hire Meg because I don't want things to get ugly for both mine and my kids. And when I say ugly, I just mean, more yelling than I'd like and the things that kind of make your heart cringe,
Yeah.
that you want to do better
I
at.
think it's knowing that that's not who you are.
Yeah, that's the pain of it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
seeing yourself be like that was scary. And it was really scary when I was depressive, but then I was doing so much better. So to take on something like homeschooling my husband and I both kind of had to have the mental health chat,
Yeah.
which I know you have also checked in and had that chat before too.
Yeah.
It's important to have if you're going to decide to homeschool and have some securities in place. So for me, Meg was one of my mental health securities as I took on this big thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So then tell me kind of the process. Like, so you're in it. Okay, we're going to do it.
Oh yeah, the
And
process was I felt like I was spaghetti and someone threw me at the fridge and I was sliding down and leaving a trail of tomato sauce. No, it was a lot of processing overwhelm in my body. A lot of and not because homeschooling is overwhelming. I really want to make that clear. And the
Right.
best thing about working with you has been the reversal as I have shed my old programming. I'm a public school, so I didn't say this, I don't think. I'm a public school product of the public school system. I don't know
Mhm.
if I identify with that, but I went to public school and so did my husband. And we still feel called to homeschool, right? So we're in this conundrum, predicament, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, I was up against a lot of my old programming and I probably should have just stuck with you. And I think I did a few sessions, like a
Mhm.
package. And then I don't know why I stopped. Probably had some good reasons. I don't know. But anyway, honestly, I think I wanted to just keep trying on my own.
Yeah.
And then I intuitively took a break from homeschooling. And I just thought, you know what? My business needs me right now and I can pause. That's the best part about homeschooling. And sometimes the anxiety, or like, it wasn't anxiety, but sometimes that little voice of like, you should be, da, 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 don't want to get behind, would pop in. And I would just remember Meg's words and like go pop onto her Instagram for
Yeah.
some and calm my body. And then I would just keep trusting the guidance I was receiving, which was, let's focus on your business and get it to a place where it can be a little bit more free of you. It's like a teenager business, not a baby toddler business.
Mhm.
So I grew it to like a teenager business where I only, it just doesn't require as much of me. And now I've cut back my work hours and I'm homeschooling half the day in the mornings, and my husband's going to be helping. And yeah. So
Yes, it's interesting. Lizzie and I are opposites,
yeah.
where like she's this huge, awesome business guru, and
I
I
would
like,
add, I mean, yeah, I'm
yes,
also
you
really
are.
down to
I'm
earth mommy, but yeah,
no,
it's cool.
but like
I've
we got
grown
to
a
give you a
successful
shout out.
business.
Her business is awesome and it's
Thank you.
flourishing. And
Th-
so,
Thank you.
yeah,
It,
like
it's the
she's
post,
in,
it's just LizzieLangston.com if you guys were
oh
wondering.
yes.
Go
And
find it
I
later.
know so many of you have had postpartum. And so seriously, go check her out because she's going to
Mm.
resonate with a lot of you because she's faith-based. She gets it. Now she homeschools. You know what I mean? Like she's really gonna
Yeah.
understand you guys.
Mhm.
But like I was just like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom forever. I want to
Yeah.
be barefoot and pregnant in my kitchen until my body falls apart, and it fell apart. So I decided I shouldn't be pregnant anymore. But like we're meeting in the middle. I always laugh, we're Benjamin Button. Like
Benjamin Button. That's cute.
yeah, right. Like so as I'm entering into this business world and maintaining motherhood, like but my family runs
Yeah.
and it's
Yes. And
past that toddler stage.
you're like, well, I would say you have run your family like a business. You've always had a
Yes.
hand in business, right? You've treated, I mean, I don't want to equate the family to business, but
But
in a
like
lot of
that's what I
ways,
do, and a lot of my stuff is like my family's my
yeah.
business and I'm the
Yeah, you have
CEO.
invested in it, you've grown it very successfully, and now you're teaching others how to do the same in the shell of actual entrepreneurism. That's a word. I made
Yes. It's okay. And I always tease that my husband's just the silent partner that is the funding. He is the funding agent.
Yeah,
Maybe your husband is like also like a co-CEO. Mine's a silent partner,
that's a
and
good question. I
I'll
would say
keep
he's more
it.
of a co, but I don't think
Yours?
there's a right or wrong there.
No, 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 no. There's no right or wrong, but that's just
Mhm.
where we are. I think I was
Cute.
hoping for a co in the beginning, and my kids and I were laughing because my husband speaks many languages. So
Cool.
perfect timing to do homeschool with dad. And that turned into TV and donuts. And I said, oh, okay. So we're done with this.
That's
I'm
done.
just gonna take it back and we're gonna
I like
support
being
dad.
CEO, she said.
Yeah, like CEO doesn't feel so bad anymore.
Yeah.
So tell everybody kind of about like some of the fears that have
Mhm.
you've faced or facing
Mhm.
that like you're still working on.
Oh, yeah. I would say both. I would say I have faced and some I'm still working on, and
Mhm.
some somewhere in between. Okay, my biggest fear that came up the soonest before I even started homeschooling, I was actually listening to the Called to Homeschool podcast. He was in kindergarten and I was trying to get my feelers out like, is this something I actually want to do? And my biggest issue was the social piece, which is what we
Yeah.
hear.
It's like
Um,
everybody's biggest concern.
yeah. And actually, even after I hired you, I noticed it crept back in, and I started to see evidence for it because, whatever you're thinking, you start to see evidence for. And then I'd have family members on both sides that would here and there. It's not like they were unduly worried about the social piece. They were just homeschool in general. This is new. We both come from public school families, like back generations.
Yeah.
So really, if you think about what an impact that is to just change it, that's a whole nother probably
Yeah.
podcast topic for
Being the
y'all.
pioneer.
Yeah, exactly. The pioneer. But yeah, the biggest I'll just list them. So one of my fears
Okay.
was yeah, the social piece, which you address so well on your podcast. So go listen to that episode,
Yeah, I
guys.
think it's like number 2 or 3. It's right there at the
Uh-huh.
beginning.
It's common, but it's so solvable. It's definitely
Mhm.
not a reason to not homeschool. That's what I've decided.
Yeah.
Um and then also what people think. So like again, my mom's a public school teacher and she's awesome. And she also I think doesn't really get it, like the
Mhm.
whole like wanting to homeschool thing. And then in-laws, same thing, like, but how's he gonna have friends if he doesn't go to
He never will.
yeah, I know. I loved that, by the way. I think I brought that up, what somebody said in my family. And And Meg was like, yeah, oh, I lock mine up. I lock them in a dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I love this. Okay. It's not even a thing. Good. Well, I'm glad we got that over with. And then probably the more recent fear, since I've been on a good routine of homeschool that I had to grapple with once I was really actively homeschooling and had started to kind of find our rhythm a little bit, although it's always flexible every day,
Yeah.
is getting behind. And I had a really powerful session with Meg where I could tell, like, I didn't like how I was kind of overshadowing and like really aggressively correcting my oldest son's reading, because he's first grade age now, I guess. I still think
I
in
don't
terms
know.
of,
I only know now because I've been helping other people and they ask, and I still have to think about it. Like, I think they'd be this.
yeah. And that actually brings me something. So those were my fears.
Okay.
And one thing I wanted to say was one of the biggest kind of unexpected forces for good with working with you has been, I underestimated. So what I already was expecting was like your wealth of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and your coaching skills. What I wasn't expecting was just being in the presence of somebody regularly who, number one, believes in you.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, holds the space without judgment for all of your messy that as it comes up as you get going homeschooling. And number three is just like a walking proof to your brain that you can do it, that it can be, it's been done. Like that, the power of just the presence of you. And I think this happens for my clients too. I think there's something to it. It's just, and it's probably not just a coach thing, right? If there's a
Right.
mentor in your life or somebody that you love being around, ask yourself why. There's probably a reason it's serving your subconscious or your conscious mind, your highest good, to try to get some, make a change you're trying to make or whatever. And it doesn't have to be a physical presence. Like we've never actually met in physical
I know
presence.
it feels like we have, but we haven't.
Yeah. Like, podcast people can be amazing presences, but there is something about paying the money. And I know you're not like asking me to rave about coaching with you. I'm just indulging here for a minute because it really has been, it has been just what I needed both times I've hired you. But yeah, something about, especially something with homeschooling where it's so wrapped up into your everyday, it can be hard to like give it its proper priority when you're kind of juggling cleaning the house and getting groceries and still just doing regular parenting and marriage stuff. So sometimes just paying that money kind of sets it apart for a minute. So that's a good sign, like that it might be a good time to like pay for some homeschooling support, is if you just feel like you're not able to change as fast as you want to, or you keep trying and you keep just like having the same stuff kind of get in the way. Those are all kind of were flags to me that, okay. Plus
Yeah.
the mental health piece.
Yeah. Well, I think about
And
this
higher.
too with, so I was going to do a full post about this because as many of you know, I do not really care about dogs. And I just got my son a dog. So we now have 2 dogs, and I was the instigator of
Oh
like,
my
let's
gosh.
get this kid a dog. So cool story with
So
that,
funny.
that I'll share. But it's funny because I've never read a book about dogs. I just don't care. So when it comes to training dogs, it's like we need to find somebody who likes dogs and knows some skills with dogs in order to train dogs. And I don't
Yeah.
necessarily like to call your children dogs, but there are skills. Like, why are some kids so well behaved and some are like bouncing off the walls like they just ate a whole pack of sugar, right? Like, you just sometimes need skills with somebody who's been through the process. So with our first dog, well, our current first dog, we had a dog trainer come, and she was amazing and beautiful and was like, it's just this. And it's like, this was so simple. Why did I think this was so hard? But it just took somebody who's a lot of times removed from that emotional part of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
not emotionally tied up with your kid not reading or not reading.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
I
And
know
that's
he'll
so
get it.
relieving because my brain feeds me all day. And not really today since we've done sessions, but
Yeah.
before that one session, my brain was constantly
Like,
only seeing how behind he was. And the beautiful part about that one session that was so memorable is I feel like the veil of like seeing how awesome he's actually doing was removed. So it was more than just like, oh, I'm going to get some tweaking and some help for me. It was like, oh my gosh, he is doing all these things in his reading, even though he's not doing this one thing that I keep
mhm.
focusing on. And so the value of that, I don't know, it's insurmountable. Like it's just because now I have a closeness with him, and also we got to, I mean, I could go on and on about things we've learned coaching. I don't know, but I guess one other thing as I'll share is we got to the bottom of why I was I don't even remember now, prodding him along or something. Anyway,
I
there
do
was just,
remember, but I don't know. Like it's your story to tell, so I won't.
yeah. Oh, it's fine. I'm open. I have no
Yeah.
shame. I'm all about the learning.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I think I'd coached you and a few other people that day, and I was like, help with this homeschool. And as we step back, and it was like, actually, let's help with this relationship, and homeschool
Oh yeah.
solves itself.
Oh, can I give you an update with
Yes,
that? Everybody, you want
please.
an update? So and this wasn't really from anything you said as much as like the minutes after our session, I kind of was just sitting on everything and
Hmm.
quietly, and also doing your workbook, like I don't know if that's a
Oh
freebie or
yeah,
what, but
it is in the membership. Create your homeschool year with confidence.
okay, so it's inside the membership.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
free.
Create your
Could I
homeschool.
make it wordier?
No, I just want to make sure I said it right.
Yeah,
Anyway, so she assigned me some sections to fill out as part of like my coaching homework.
yeah,
And as I did those, and so anyway, just these quiet moments where I was like reflecting, my husband and I decided that this next year, so we're moving to Costa Rica. Did I
and
not
I love
mention that,
this. No,
everyone?
she didn't. I love it. My wild
I
heart.
just called you Megan because Zoom says Megan. That was weird.
That's my
Meg's
name.
gonna
It's
come
okay.
visit us, right, Meg? Wink.
Yes. I just
Seriously
found
though.
flights the other day for awesome price. So I'm like,
Ooh,
oh, I could actually go see Lizzie.
girlfriend, seriously. We have a big van. It's gonna be great. So, but anyway, we were thinking about our year, and after this session, I came home and I said, like, all of a sudden, I get it. It's not about school, it's about connection, especially at this age. So, this
Yeah.
year, our whole goal, anything we teach, we're going to be doing it from a connection perspective. Connection's the priority, connection, connection, and connection. And then I had all these ideas coming in. And what made me really realize that was you shared how one of your kids didn't do math till third grade or something, or maybe
Yeah.
all of
I just don't really do math till third grade.
yeah, and they're all like way ahead of the system and their peers and other siblings that maybe started sooner or whatever. So I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, it really is connection and making sure learning's fun." That is actually the main two ingredients in the recipe for a homeschool education is like, "Oh, okay." It really sunk in this last time.
Yeah. So I want you to share just maybe some things that you didn't know you would learn, or like ways you didn't even realize you would grow from these
Oh,
last 18 months of homeschooling. Like, I didn't realize this was going to be better.
I didn't realize my okay, I got to spit this out. I didn't realize my time management in my business would exponentially increase and my efficiency and my delegation skills because of my motivation to be at home homeschooling,
Wow.
right?
That's an awesome skill.
I work half days, get as much done. I pay for some of it to be done by other people, but that's
Mhm.
fine. It's worth it to me to be able to be home and homeschool my children. So for anybody who's like, "Ugh, I want to homeschool, but I have a business," or maybe you're already homeschooling and you're just like losing your mind and you're thinking of putting them back in, which by the way, like I never want to take the option of putting your kids back in school off the table because sometimes it really could be the healthiest thing for you depending. So, but yeah, I think that that's been a really unexpected beautiful one.
That's awesome.
Yes.
What about your own growth this last year? Like, just you as a person?
I think one lesson that I've learned before, but it was to a new magnitude and just a nice repetition, just like really searing it into my soul. This is truth. Is okay, hold on. I'm like, I was gonna say that, but you know what's coming to mind? I gotta say this other one. Okay,
Okay.
this one's coming first. What's coming first is um so Harry Potter. Okay. I love Harry Potter. When I get sick, it's my comfort movie. If my brain is fried, I just turn on one of the Harry Potter movies. Usually like the middle ones. I feel like the really early ones are a little early and young. And then the later ones kind of get scary, but they're fine. I can do them. But I like those middle ones, like 3, 4, 5. Okay. Anyway, that's besides the point. But my son has gotten so into Legos, and like I guess one of the lessons I've learned is that you don't have to feel bad about spending a lot of money on education. Like I always did in the beginning, and I was trying to budget, and I'm all for budgeting. I'm just saying I like used to make them earn toys, quote toys. And now I'm realizing how education, quote unquote, can really be anything. And if he's into Harry Potter right now and he wants to build Legos and he doesn't start reading for 6 more months or a year, By all means. And old Lizzie would have never, ever gotten on board with that. I would have been two panties in a bundle over his timing and his progress. So,
Yeah. So a lot of skills with being able to relax.
mhm.
And I think even taking in the big picture, like
And
this
connecting
is,
with my kids.
yes, like this is all going to be okay.
Yeah, like easy, like really buying into this idea that connection is like where connection happens, education happens.
Yeah.
Period. 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 It's really a lot simpler. And that's the direction to enter at is the connection piece. So,
Yeah. So I think I'll just wrap up and share something from our last session
okay.
that I watched Lizzie's face going like, wait, this counts as homeschool? But
Oh,
I will have to
oh,
look up what
yeah.
floors and ceilings. There's a past episode called Floors and Ceilings where I was interviewing the lovely Brooke Snow. And we talked about floors and ceilings. And so Lizzie was saying she wants to just do 3 basic things a day, right?
Yeah.
So
Handwriting, reading, and math. That
yes.
was before I had this session with you, by the way, but yes.
Okay. So as of before the session, she's like, I want to do those 3 things. So like, fantastic. Let's so just a quick recap of floors and ceilings. Ceilings are like the ideal of like, this is what I would love everything to look like. When I read a book, all my children come and sit around me. The windows are open, birds are fluttering in, right?
Yeah, it's
Like
like fairy tales and nightmares, kind of like floors and no, no,
just the fairy tale part.
floors are not a nightmare.
Yeah. So then the floors are the bare minimum.
Yeah. It's just that I am a recovering perfectionist. I no longer identify as a perfectionist, but occasionally if there's fear present at all,
Mm.
which in my homeschooling there has been, I pull perfectionistic. I pull a little extreme. That's what I've learned about myself. And so for me, when you said like you were helping me decide, which by the way, it was so relieving. So go listen to the floors and ceilings thingy, work with Meg on this, because basically what you're doing is you're giving yourself a way to still celebrate no matter not, I wouldn't say no matter, but you're deciding what your bare minimum is. So what it does, I've noticed, and it's just been like a day, but even just talking to my husband about it, is it never makes you drop out and give up.
Right.
It's basically a safety that makes space for our humanness and for the days that we really struggle and things might get, quote, ugly, like we might perceive them to be that way. And instead of judging ourselves, and I've noticed Meg is really good at this. And so my guess is that this is a skill that is not, she's not good at judging herself. I'm going to get to it. But I'm guessing this is a skill that helps her be so successful as a homeschool mom. So it's probably something we should all shoot for, which is she always finds a way to see that silver lining and to give herself a pat on the back somehow.
Yeah.
And you would
That's it.
think, right? You would think that doing that kind of almost no matter what, like setting a really low bar for that floor, you would think that that would then make you get away with things or just not try, but it's the opposite. It fuels you.
Yeah, because you start to feel successful.
Yeah. And you
And when
just
you
build
feel
on that and it
successful,
builds.
it's like, oh, I'm amazing. I could do a little bit more.
So I laughed at her when she's like, okay, so for handwriting, your floor, your bare minimum on the worst day, if you feel crampy from your period or something and like your
Yeah.
kids are screaming, your bare minimum is getting out some crayons and paper and
And
calling
Lizzie's
it
like,
handwriting.
no, like we could write our names. I go, no,
You're like, nope,
we
bar
could set
needs
them
to go
out.
lower. I was like, Meg, no, like my brain could not grasp it until I watched almost like your countenance as you were role playing for a second. You're like, no, here's how it's going to go. You're going to put out the crayons of paper. You're going to be like, look at me. I'm so awesome. I put out the crayons of paper. And just then I got a glimpse of like, I teach this to my clients. This is an eternal principle. Like this is true that when you celebrate, like it just builds momentum. And
Mhm.
when you judge yourself, you just don't want to try again. You just want to run away. You feel
Right. Like I fail at this. I'm terrible at this. Why would I keep trying?
But our brain goes there. Our brain totally shames us regularly. That's just kind of its programming is that problem solving. This is why you got to learn how to be in your body too, which is, come work with me or Meg. Meg teaches us too. But yeah, it's like I just let go last night. Our session was just yesterday, but
Yeah.
I got home and like all of a sudden homeschooling didn't feel so like constricting or like I needed to have every little thing and do everything and blah, 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 blah.
So I love this. I'm going to share the 3 floors we came up with Lizzie because I think
Okay.
they're super helpful. So she wanted to do just at least handwriting, reading, and math every day.
Yeah,
So
which
like,
now I'm like, oh, actually, I don't know if I need to do math every day after talking
yeah.
to you. But yes.
So we came up with 3 floors And the floor of her handwriting, like we said, was just putting out crayons and paper.
Yep.
And that's her bare minimum. And with reading, it's setting out a book.
Mhm.
Like she doesn't even have to read it and doesn't even have to open it, but
Mhm.
there's going to be a book there and her kids
Mhm.
could look at it. They could do whatever with it.
Mhm.
Like there's a book. And math is setting out something that the kids could count.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what's funny is already my brain is quantifying and measuring, trying to decide how I'm going to know it's a success. Like, did they pick up the book? But that's beside the point. And I think we're so used to like class schedules. And at this time, we do this subject. And then if you
Mhm.
didn't, then you're done and you're behind. And sorry, you have to do it tomorrow. And I've just loved like the holistic flowiness of homeschooling that it permits. And like, that's who I think I truly am. I think
Mhm.
each of us has the capacity to get there. And homeschooling is bringing that out in me. And I'm so grateful because that's the mom I've wanted to be. And it's interesting how we think we need to be the mom to be like, we need to already have that in order to homeschool. So we wait and we, feel bad about ourselves and we compare ourselves. But really, it's getting into homeschooling super imperfectly, maybe hiring a coach if you feel, like you really need that extra support or getting into some sort of membership or whatever. But it's like, it can make you that person. Homeschool can be the means for you to be that mom you want to be. It
Yeah.
can be messy. It should be messy. And that's not a reason not to do it. And I don't know. I was just so perfectionistic. I just wanted to say that because you've really been a good example of like, actually, you're not a good example right now because you're really great and awesome, but you do give good examples. You give good examples. And actually, that's not true. The other day you shared a post of like your toddler screaming the whole hike and you were like,
Yeah.
here we go. We did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
That's
both
what
give good
toddlers
examples,
do.
but you also have a lot of years of the messy too. And
Yeah.
not that we like need people to share messy in order to feel like it's okay to be messy, but sometimes it helps if
Yeah.
you.
I think I've shared a picture of my boy's wall. Maybe I haven't, where one day he was just mad and took a hammer to the wall.
Mm.
And I go, interesting. Now, guess what you got to learn to do? You got to learn how to patch drywall. Like
Yeah.
homeschool got to be all about learning how to feel our emotions instead of taking a hammer to the wall. And then we had a homeschool lesson on how to repair a wall. Like I was like, we're always learning, champ. Not a big deal.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. We're always learning. That's another thing homeschooling has taught me is like, it's not just the quote unquote school time,
Yeah.
where we have worksheets out. It's like how you handle when they don't want to learn. I could go on and on, but it's
Yeah.
been awesome working with you. And I am so pleased that the source of all things, the Lord saw fit to kind of call me into homeschooling even. And I'm really grateful to my past self for just doing it and struggling hard and like just and taking a break and then trying it again. Like
Yeah.
I love all of that. There's no shame in any of that.
Awesome. Okay, friends, if you want to check out Lizzie, what was your website again?
So it's LizzieLangston.com/course is where you can work with me because I'm no longer doing private coaching. And so what we're doing is you buy a course. It's the postpartum anxiety course. And then you do the membership that goes with it. Or if you want a free resource to kind of get to know me, you can go to the Postpartum Coach podcast. So if you're already on the podcast vibe, people love the podcast, which is really flattering and cute and
Yeah,
sweet.
that's
So
awesome.
the Postpartum Coach podcast. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Lizzie. Thank you for sharing your adventure so far. And I'm just excited to keep working with
Mm.
you and seeing your progress. But I wanted you guys to kind of see, just get a taste of it, that Lizzie's been in it for 18 months and the progress she's already had and the amazing things she's already able to create just by being intentional with how she wants to be in her homeschool. So just some
Yeah.
hope as you're
Yeah.
like, this is impossible. It's never going to work. It totally is going to work. I think I said that to you yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
Lizzie, this totally works.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the first few years, you really don't see a whole lot. You just have to
No.
like get that inner belief and your whys lined up. And then over time, you start to see that more external piece, but being okay with just like the quiet trying and trying again and talking to Meg.
Yeah.
So thank you
So
so much.
awesome. Okay, Lizzie, thanks so much. You guys, if you need any help with postpartum, you want to check her out. And thanks for taking the time to come be on the podcast today.
Of course. See you guys.
Bye.